Okay guys, this is going to be part 2 of making the Lane's Trough Hive, and what we're going to be doing is building the base. And or what they're going to call the bottom board. Right up there. And the measurements are still going to be pretty close to the same. We kept the outside dimensions of the box we built doing the rabbits pretty much at the same dimensions as what they did with the box joints. I'm right at 19 3/4 on it, so that'll work. So pretty much what we need to do is make sure we keep our width at 16 1/4, and the one piece of 1x12 that you had left over off the 8-foot piece, we're going to rip that down to 2 1/4 inch, and that's going to be the biggest part of our base frame. And then the one long strip that we ripped off, we're going to use it for a second part, and I'll show you that in a minute. So what we're looking at making for the bottom frame is, you can make this a couple different ways, and what we're going to do is we're going to dado some cuts into this. And what I've done is I've made a frame out of my 2-inch stock. The openings in the back ain't going to make no big difference. Then off the one piece that was left over, I ripped it down just thick enough to be the front piece. We put our dados in it, which are 3/4 inch, made them a little bit loose. Then we made a frame to go in there and tack the screen down. Now on the second one, the one I'm doing now, I'm not going to put the screen in it until I have at least the front half of this painted, just to keep it protected from weather. But you see the general idea of what we want. In the summertime, you can put this in the opening, and basically it lets stuff filter out the bottom. You can also keep, I think, control of some of the parasites or stuff you're looking at. You can bring that out and clean it and see what kind of stuff is left in the bottom. Come wintertime, you can slide this out and actually slide a solid frame in to keep the weather off of them. So that's what we're going to be doing, and I'm going to get busy ripping my board down to 2 1/4 inches, and then we'll do some measurements. Be back in a minute. Okay, so on this frame, if I can get a far enough shot, as you can see, the front and the back board, instead of putting the rabbit in them and stuff, we're just squaring it up and putting them together. So by doing that, my inside board needs to be at 14 3/4 inch across. Okay, so we're going to work on cutting those down real quick. Okay, something I want to note about that, I had a couple pieces that had knots on them, and if you're going to cut rabbits or dados, those are super hard on your blades and they're hard to cut knots, cut them out. So I trimmed those two off. And inspect your boards before you cut, I guess what I'm trying to say. Left myself 2 good clean boards, because when I go to running the dados through those, it's just going to be a lot easier. So I need to cut these at 22 inches. We'll set up on it and get them done. Okay, so now we're back over here at the dado, and what we want to do is the 3 of the 4 strips, the 2 short ones, which is going to be the front and the back, and actually it's going to be, be the front and the back. We're going to run a dado through them, and then, wrong answer, we're going to run a dado through the 2 long ones, and that's going to be the sides, and then one of the other pieces. The other one is what we're going to try to use for a frame. So you don't necessarily have to rip all those down. All you need is 3 boards to complete the biggest part of the frame, and I'll show you what I mean here in a minute. Also, a word to the wise, use a push stick if you're using a table saw or a router table. When you're getting that close to your work, you don't want to be eaten up by a blade, so just kind of play it safe. Okay guys, now like I said, my dado head is set up at a 1/2 inch, so I got to make double passes, and that's fine. This is not a cabinet. It's not something you want super tight when it comes to this part, because you want to be able to slide your tray in and out. On a router table, same thing. You know, 3/4 inch, it's going to be a super tight deal. So if you go to do them on a router table, you're going to have to make 2 passes on each piece. But what I recommend is running every piece through and then adjusting it and running every piece through again, because if you start messing with it back and forth, you're going to have sloppy dados in it. So, you know, that way you can keep them all the same, just do them all at the same time. Now, when you run your second piece through, before you go any further to run the rest of them, you want to check the clearance on your slide. Now that's got a pretty good slide in it. It's not too sloppy, it's not too tight. So this is something exactly what I'm wanting, so I'm going to go ahead, leave my fence set up, and I'm going to run the rest of them the same way. Okay, now before you go any further, just go ahead and set the pieces together and get your measurement to make sure you got the right width. I'm just a 1/8 over 16 1/4, so I can go ahead and trim that back board just a slight bit, probably a 1/16. I want it about a 1/16 oversize anyway. And then we'll work on the front piece. Okay guys, so here's what the frame looks like. The front and the back that I cut out, what I done was dadoed one. The other one I left undadoed, and by the time I got done with my dado, by setting it up right, I'm able to lay that flat. Now that's going to make it a lot stronger frame, and it's going to work perfect just for a front landing board, hold a little bit more weight for your feeder or whatever. I know it's not that much weight, but you know, this is a great setup for a base. Basically, I'm going to stick it back over in the jig that I used off of episode 1 just to square everything up. I'm going to put some glue to it and screw it. Okay guys, so I got it glued and screwed together, and pretty much want to test my hive on it, see what kind of fit I got. Perfect. So the next part is I need to build my frame to put my screen on. Like I say, come wintertime, I can be able to build just a solid bottom and slide it in and keep them protected from any extra breezes or something if you're in northern climates. So what I need to do is cut 2 pieces of board. Now remember, initially when we ripped the board down to 9 5/8, we had a strip left. So to make the frame on that, what I'm going to do is cut them down. 2 strips is going to be 21 and about 11/16. Okay, and I'm going to wait until I get those done and set them in here and get a perfect measurement between them to find out what I want my front and back boards to be. Okay guys, so I got the 2 boards cut, slid in nicely. What I want to do is measure in between them. Now, measurement there is going to be right at 12 1/2 inch. If you want an exact measurement, burn an inch. Make sure everything's tight. Use your 1 inch line. Still right at 13 1/2. So take that inch back off, 12 1/2. I'm going to do 2 different ways here. One is I'm going to use a piece of stock that's this width, and that's going to be the back. And for the front and for the support, I'm going to go ahead and get another piece of this ripped down, and I'm going to use it for the front part of the frame. Okay, so what I've done to start this off with, guys, because you don't want your frame being too tight. Weather cause it to swell, cause it to shrink. So you want a little bit of play in it. So I took an extra 1/16 off. Slide in. So basically, when I put these together and screw them together, pull this out just a little bit, maybe. Show you what I'm looking at here. What I'm looking at is once I got them screwed together, I'm going to have a little bit of play in my frame, and that's what I want. So when the wood swells, when it shrinks, you know, gets wet, dry, weather conditions, I'll still be able to get it in and out. You don't want it super tight. So got that piece cut. I'm going to use that for the front, use the thinner one for the back, both the same size. I'm going to get those glued and screwed and be back. Okay guys, so let's see if we can get this coming into focus here. Okay, there we go. So anyhow, down towards the end of it, got the frame glued together. Now make sure your glue pretty much dries before you put it in your slide. I mean, you can slide it in and test it, but don't leave it there until the glue's totally dry, or you might have an accident. So this slides in and out pretty cool. Now I've got it pretty flush at the front. Probably what I'm going to do is just drive a couple finish nails in here, leave them barely sticking out, just enough that I've got pull handles on there. Because my last step to doing this, like I said, I want to take time to paint it, but then I'm going to roll screen wire across it, staple it down all the way around, and then go with a knife and trim the outside edge of it, and it's going to be done. That simple. It took probably about 25 minutes. It'd take about 25 minutes if I was doing it, not doing a video. But yeah, we're going to sand her down and put some paint to it. So this is pretty much the end of this segment. I will try to show you putting the screen on, but I can show you the after product. Pretty much what we're looking at on the final product is this right here. Make sure I got a good enough shot of it. You bet. Okay, so this is the frame you're looking at setting down, and here's the piece that goes in and out. Okay, so all I done was just roll the screen across it. Like I said, put staples in it, just took a good sharp knife and trimmed it. That baby's done. So it goes to a different hive, so it's a little bit different sized. But the other one, the dimensions I'm giving you on all this is actually ones that you can build for any hive, and it should stack on your standard leggings trough that somebody else built, as long as they do it to the dimensions. Or if you're making your own, they'll go one on top of another. So I guess next episode is we'll be doing a deep super, and it's pretty much the same construction as the main body hive. It's just going to be a little bit narrower. I think it's 6 inches and 5/8 or something. Yeah, we're looking at the medium honey super is 6 5/8. Okay, and then from there you go 5 11/16. The way you're going to cut them, the way you're going to wrap them is going to be exactly the same. The only difference is going to be the width of your boards. So, you know, I'm going to go ahead and do a video on it, but I don't know if you need to follow beyond that or not. Maybe no. I'll tell you what. Next video, because the other ones are so simple, we'll go ahead and build an inner cover. And once we do the inner cover, then we'll go ahead and work on doing the outer cover, and that's pretty much your main setup. The only thing you got to do is build your hive bodies that you want in between. And you follow the instructions off of video 1, just change the width of your boards and you'll be set. So, this is Jethro out.